It's 8 p.m. in Banjul. This is the news. First, the headlines. Police Chief Landing Kinte urged newly promoted senior officers to work with diligence and professionalism. Residents of 6 rural villages in the North Bank and Lower River regions expressed delight at constant electricity supply provided by NAWEC and Senelec. The government of Uganda suspends the country's boxing federation following the disappearance of 3 boxers in Germany. And members of South Africa's powerful labor union, COSATU, staged a nationwide protest against corruption. These and many more coming ahead in this hour. I am Momodin Jai. Close associates of former President Yahya Jammeh continued their testimony at the Jammeh Commission on Thursday. Businessman Mohammed Bazi reappeared before the commission to provide information on his dealings with Jammeh. Fatou Jassi was listening to the proceedings.
Abdullah Tambedu, the managing director of the Gambia Ports Authority, was the first to take the witness stand. Tambedu stressed that he was not at GPA when a directive was issued for part of the port's premises to be leased to Gambia Milling Corporation, nor can he verify the Ministry of Lands and Surveys involvement in the matter.
No, we haven't at any point in time received any correspondence from the Ministry of Lands and Surveys informing us of the leasing of our part of our parcel of land to Gambia Milling Corporation.
Christopher Bradley was next to reappear before the commission, still claiming he knows nothing about the leasing agreement between Gambia Milling Corporation and GPA, and his office has no documents that could prove GPA's claim. Another familiar face at the commission, Ibrahim Sala, Managing Director, Trust Bank, provided more documents to accounts belonging to former President Jammeh, whilst answering questions regarding a number of transactions.
Okay, commencing from 30th June 2011, yes. Credit of 14,750,000 and similar amount 29th July, 29 August, went to 15 million 29 September. All seem to be from the same source, Euro African Group Limited. It was a payment from Euro African Group account to this account.
Mohammed Bazi was the last to testify. He dismissed the Geology Department's claims that Euro Africa was exporting sand and did not rehabilitate the sand mining area.
We never sold even one pile or one pieces of sand, of white sand for construction. We was only given license, okay, that's to be mining, but we never sold, and this is something we take responsibility. And we was very careful about this, and we are the company who was insisting to leave the white sand and to do a plantation of cashew nut there, which is we have done. I have a proof to you also that the people who was selling the sand after we left.
The Commission Council, Ami Bensouda, picked up on a number of payments Euro Africa made to the former president's salary account. But Bazi said he was only aware of 2 transactions, and these were made to the Jammeh Foundation account and President's Empowerment for Girls Education Project, PEJEP.
There was a monthly inflow into the President's salary account in Trust Bank. Council mentioned a figure between 14 million to 15 million on average. You said you were not aware, and you'll find out.
Not at all, I'm not aware.
You are not aware. So does that mean you didn't authorize the payments, or you may have and you forgot?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. I will check this for sure. But this is not at all aware about this.
However, Bazi is still required by the Commission to make clarifications on other business dealings with the ex-president. For GRTS News, I am Fatou Jassi.
The Inspector General of Police, Landing Kinte, has told newly promoted senior officers that work is no longer business as usual. Kinte made the remarks at the decoration of 44 police officers to the ranks of Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent respectively. As we hear in this report by H.N. Silver, the Inspector General also challenged the newly promoted officers to be more professional.
All smiles and plaudits at the police headquarters as Inspector General Landing Kinte elevated dozens of officers to the senior cadre of the force. The promotion ended 4 years of anticipation by the newly commissioned officers who sat and passed a tedious promotional exam in 2013 and 14. However, with the staging of this much-awaited event, the Inspector General is now expecting progress and diligence from these men and women.
The expectations are high that you are going to perform and that you are going to live up to expectation. Being a senior officer doesn't come in vain. It means a lot of trust and confidence. Policing is inundated with a lot of challenges, especially during times like this. You will agree with me that Gambia is now a democracy.
Laying out his futuristic plans for the institution, IG Kinte assured job security for every enlisted member of the force, saying gone are the days when members of the police outfit live in a state of conundrum about their career and future.
The current administration want to ensure job security for each and every one of us.
Nonetheless, he challenged them to exercise a high sense of discipline and collaboration with the civilian in the execution of their functions.
Either you like it or not, the public will have a say in what you do. To say whether they are badly policed or they are well policed. Police are not supposed to violate human rights. Anytime human rights are violated, they'll be investigated and due process will take its course. It's not business as usual that police is above the law. This is supposed to stop.
This is the second decoration under the new police administration, but if the statement of Deputy IG Alhaji Mahmoud Chop is anything to go by, more police officers will be promoted sooner rather than later.
We are starting with this one, and hopefully within a short period of time we will have another one again.
The newly promoted officers also took turns to express gratitude at the administration for elevating them. Among them is the current Public Relations Officer, Assistant Superintendent Fode Konta, and Superintendent Thomas Gomez. The 44 officers are expected to undergo an orientation this Monday, during which they will know their various roles and responsibilities as new members of the senior officers cadre. Etienne Silva, GRTS News.
Beneficiaries of the NAWEC-Senelec interconnection project have hailed the current state of electricity supply in their area. Several villages in the North Bank and Lower River regions are benefiting from the joint partnership between the two energy giants. Aissatou Jatta visited the villages and prepared this report.
The North Bank town of Farafenye and the Lower River settlement of Jara Soma are two among many communities in provincial Gambia enjoying round-the-clock electricity since mid-September. Thanks to a joint NAWEC and Senelec project, the development is already improving lives in the area. The Senegalese energy powerhouse Senelec has become a major electricity supplier to several countries in sub-Saharan Africa. The Gambia is its newest consumer in a growing West African market, increasingly requiring energy to sustain its industries and local needs. The project is now supplying electricity from Senegal to some parts of provincial Gambia. Beneficiaries of the initiative carved by the Senegalese and the Gambia governments can't hold back their excitement.
Interruptions and disconnections have really reduced. Though we do experience some cuts here and there, but that's not much. That comes not often. But I can say we are enjoying electricity 24 hours in this region. And people are happy about it, and they call me to commend the government, because comparing LRR to other regions, we have realized that some regions still now cannot get electricity as the way they want it.
In this network here, we are supplying 24 hours. When it goes off, it doesn't mean it's NAWEC who puts it off. The system protects itself. So in case of any fault, the system will switch off itself to avert any big disaster happening, because we're talking of 30 kilovolts of power being evacuated. So any fault in the network, the system will automatically trip itself. Now we have to come and look at what is the problem and restore back power.
Uninterrupted electricity supply is everyone's dream. At the border post, security personnel expressed satisfaction. 24 hours electricity certainly makes their work easier.
Humanity is cracked down because they always need darkness, and now everywhere is light. Even our job now is easy because electricity is part of our lives.
If you look at immigration, we deal with documents. Sometimes if there is no electricity, it is very, very difficult for execute our functions as immigration personnel.
And the most impact is being felt at the Farafenni General Hospital, where most equipment cannot operate without electricity. Serif Ba is the senior cataract surgeon at the eye care unit.
You can see we work with equipments that use a lot of energy. So sometimes if NAWIC is not on, we have to put on the generator like he said, and the generator cannot power all the equipments that we have here.
Inside the maternity ward and laboratories, reactions were the same, and appreciation even higher, as happy nurses and doctors hailed the initiative as a cost-effective measure that will change lives and yet still reduce hospital expenditure.
Sometimes we do have emergencies that will need oxygen, and we know that oxygen, somebody that's on oxygen will need constant electricity supply, and with that erratic supply then was not very helpful. We don't have any problem with oxygenation. Our fans are ventilating 24 hours. The ventilation of the place has greatly improved. Since that ventilation is in place, the risk of infection being transferred from one patient to another will greatly reduce.
In this room we have our blood bank. This fridge also is a fridge where we keep some of our reagents. We have a medonic machine also for full blood count. It has to be in a cool room.
Principal Nursing Officer Lamin Bondi has not seen a good day as such for a long time. The development allays a major disadvantage, according to the nursing officer.
Money that we use to buy fuel to run the hospital can be used for other services within the hospital. I mean by providing that service, money of that aspect can be used on patient food supply. You can buy medicine and other things that would have been used to buy electricity, if at all this connection was not there 24 hours.
What beneficiaries think about the new development? Bringing unbroken electricity supply is a question clearly answered as smiles of joy light up every face in this massive provincial city. Aissatou Jatta, GRTS.
GRTS TV informs the general public that its satellite transmission is off air due to equipment failure. However, terrestrial transmission continues from our transmitters in Abuko and Mansakonko. So viewers with rooftop antennas can still view us. For more on that, Aissatou Keita spoke with the Director of Engineering, Sheikh Idris Bahom.
With our satellite transmission, because the satellite is what we use to link Gambia and the outside world. I think you know that. But we also use it to link our studios to our transmitters. Now we don't have a backup on that, but today we developed a problem on the amplifier, on the power supply units. We have 3 in line, but only 1 is functioning. So we don't have a replacement for it. So all we can do is try to see if we can repair the faulty one and see if we can get the service back.
So how long is this going to take?
No, we can't tell, because these are things which we don't have replacements for. And once you unplug them from the rack, it's difficult to test them. So we cannot give a timeline. It's going to affect GRTS because most of our terrestrial transmitters will go off. Of course, we'll have Abuko on because they are linked on the fiber. We have Mansakonko on as well. Basse probably we can have it on, but we'll have to take a unit there from another station. The other stations are not linked on the cable, on the fiber cable, so they won't be on. So it will have a big impact on our operations for until it takes the time it takes for us to do the maintenance. We saw this coming, but you know, GRTS, we have issues of finance. and these things are very expensive. So when they develop problems, you have to repair them or you send them abroad for repairs. Those things takes time, and we also don't have the capability to do the maintenance 100% on site. So the impact is going to be very big.
I mean, in those outside the Gambia can't have access to GRTS anymore?
Except online, because we are streaming online. We are on terrestrial transmission. We are on satellite as well. Now the satellite component is gone. It affects part of the terrestrial transmission, but the online service will be there. So the online service will be there and part of the terrestrial, but the satellite would be out for now.
The Ministry of Fisheries is set to roll out a 4-week training course for dozens of youths as fisheries observers and marketers of the fisheries products. Fatoumata Simaha Sise has more.
These youths, numbering 98, are set for a 4-week-long intensive course at the Ministry of Fisheries. The boys are expected to be the Gambia's future fisheries observers on board fishing vessels.
In order to achieve this goal, save our marine resources without fear or favor. In order to do this effectively, love for the nation should supersede love for self. The selected observers must know you have been tasked with the following responsibilities. 1. To ensure correct collection of statistical data of catch from the vessels during the period of your posting. 2. To make sure the vessel do not fish through the use of prohibited gears.
The girls, if also completed the training successfully, would be employed by the fisheries sector to promote the marketing of the fisheries products within the Greater Banjul area.
Your role as observers is very important because as observers, you are the eyes of the government of the country. You are representing Gambia on board fishing licenses at sea. So we expect observers to be dedicated and honest Gambians, because the data that you provide is what is going to be used to help the fisheries department determine how much percentage of the catch should be landed or how much of that catch should be paid in cash to government.
This initiative of the fisheries sector, as P.S. Banja puts it, is in line with the government policy directives to protect the country's marine resources and to create job opportunities for the nation's over 60% youthful population.
As a ministry, we have a responsibility to create the enabling environment so that Gambians can be fully employed in the fisheries sector.
By definition, a fisheries observer is an independent specialist who serves on board commercial fishing vessels, fish processing plants and other platforms, and is employed either directly by a government officials or by a third-party contractor.
The youth now know that they need to work hard to impress the fisheries management to earn themselves jobs at the sector. For the news, I am Fatoumata Sise.
Fatoumata Sise there with that report. The visiting officials of the German broadcaster Deutsche Welle Thursday met with the Director General of the Gambia Radio and Television Services. They discussed a range of issues bordering on cooperation between DWTV and GRTS.
I must say I'm very excited about it. So this is a program we set up last year already. So we organizing town hall debates in the most affected countries with migration to Europe. So we've been into Mali, into Niger, into Senegal, into Ivory Coast before, in Nigeria. So we're still going to Ghana and Guinea. And now we're here in Gambia. Then one of the biggest migration group in Germany in particular is the Gambians. Although it is a small country, but many young Gambians still go to Germany. So that's why we felt we must open up a dialogue with a local partner, that's Paradise FM in this case, and discuss about it, hear the voices of the youngsters, why are they going to Europe, or about their aspirations for the future, about job perspectives and so, and just open up the dialogue.
Well, actually, the partnership, we are already old partners from the past already. In a point, we just lost each other, and now we're back. And I think it's never late. And there's always something to expand together. Because it's not like a one-way partnership, it's a two-way partnerships, where we can, as Klaus said, we learn from each other, where we can see what is the interest of the users, viewership, of the listeners as well. Where can Deutsche Welle come and also support with important and educative programs.
So how best do you think this can help the national television?
This can help, like, in case, as I said, there is something that might interest your viewership, because we are not going to be like take your viewership, but we are going to be like supporting you with some other issues, some other points, coming also from a global point of view. And we are Germany's international broadcaster. We can also talk about not only Gambia, but also about like African issues. There are some programs, one of them which is called Africa on the Move, which is already running now already on GRTS, talking about entrepreneurs from all over sub-Saharan Africa. And this gives also the viewers in Gambia a new view on how people can do the best out of their daily lives. Challenges are there, but what can you do out of that?
So how's it?
Officials of UNFPA, in partnership with the Network of Journalists on Reproductive Health, Population and Development, recently visited UNFPA intervention sites across the country. Suma Jadama traveled with them.
Speaking to journalists in Somita village, a community-based commodity distributor, Auntie Noel Sambo, explained that despite the provision of free family planning services, its uptake remained a challenge, while urging men to consider the plight of women and children. Another community-based distributor in Kassan village, Modu Ture, stressed the need for government and partners to help them with financial compensation and mobility facility in order to widen their intervention areas. From the West Coast region, the delegation visited other UNFPA projects and partner institutions in Lower River, Central River, and Upper River regions of the country.
Family planning has increased, delivery has increased, no maternal death. Even neonatal death, we registered 2 hours since I came here, we registered only 3.
The theater has stopped working before because there was no surgeon, there was no anesthetic. But recently we have this Cuban surgeon who came, a gynecologist, and there's an anesthesiologist as well. So hopefully the theater will start working very soon.
UNFPA through RCH program unit had been our key partners. There are a lot of success stories that we can highlight. One of them is as far as the family planning commodities is concerned, they are the one that is helping government through the Ministry of Health, and through their support we have not been experiencing any shortage of all the commodities of family planning.
The head of UNFPA Family Planning Initiative in Sarasamba village in Kiang East, called Kabilo Bama, Maria Tuba, pointed out that the program is enabling women the opportunity to have access to acceptable, people-friendly maternal and livelihood services in the area. Suma Jadama reporting for GRTS.
We now take our first break. Sports is next.
Convenient and trusted way to pay for products and services using the EcoBank MasterPass QR on your EcoBank mobile app. Just tap on the menu, select Pay Merchant to scan the QR code. Enter the amount to pay followed by your PIN. The merchant receives a confirmation of your payment and you're done. Experience the ease of making payments anywhere at any time with the EcoBank MasterPass QR on your EcoBank mobile app. Download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today. For more information, visit your nearest EcoBank branch. Terms and conditions apply. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Moustapha Ji Jallo Moji di dab seeni baneex ak seeni bugga ak naani Santana yu bees yu neex yooyu Santana can drink moo dàq njar mu ñu def lem ak suukar amul benn gaas amul benn rax-rax xanaa piireem a neex gi mu àndal la Santana can drink moo naan wi gën sooy teral wala terangal sa am di jàmm Santana can drink pour seen ceeti seen party yi seen barbecue sessions yi ak bépp xew-xewi jamono Santana can drink bu sedd guy am na cafka tropical am na cafka orange Santana am na cafka mango Santana am na cafka pineapple Santana am ci bépp supermarket ak marché boutique ci biir réew mi mun ngeen ko amee te makkan bu mag ca Banjul 61 Lehman Street teggil teg 422 7566 dama ne Santana bu sedd guy Santana.
The Ugandan government has suspended the Boxing Federation following the disappearance of 3 boxers at a competition in Germany. The boxers failed to return home after being eliminated from the World Boxing Championships last month. And as Leon Seanji reports, the government is raising concerns over what has now become a trend within the sport.
Looking back at what was a jovial time, a proud moment it was for Amina Nakafu. Her grandson Muzamiru Kakande had fought his way to becoming an African boxing gold medalist.
We heard over the radio that Kakande had won gold. He brought the medal here and I wore it. I was very happy.
Kakande's success meant he would represent Uganda at the World Championships in Germany last month. He has since not returned home after the trip to Europe. It is already a worrying situation for his family.
I'm not settled at heart. I don't know exactly where he is. I don't know if he will come back, and we don't even talk to him.
Kakande was one of 3 Ugandan boxers at the World Meet in Hamburg. 2 failed to make it past the first round. Another did not even fight because of medical reasons. It is not the first time that boxers have gone missing while away on competitions. Many still find their way into boxing gyms in Europe and America. But now the disappearances are a bigger concern, and local sports authorities are beginning to act tough. The Ugandan National Council of Sports has since suspended the national boxing body. Officials on the trip to Germany have also been banned from boxing activities.
The boxers or the national teams are not a property of federations or individuals. They are a property of Uganda. And whoever takes a boxer or an athlete or a player and he remains behind under unclear circumstances must be brought to order.
A knee-jerk reaction some have argued. Abdul Nasser Semugabi has been reporting on boxing for several years. He says it is more about the lack of opportunities back home.
In a space of just 1 year, we have lost 8 boxers, and these are top quality boxers. That's almost a full team. So if we cannot build a situation that will make the boxers love their country, we are at loss.
Uganda's boxing glory days do seem over, and the country's hopes to rebuild are disappearing with every missing boxer. Those who have stayed away will hope they can one day turn professional or even become world champions. But not many are willing to return. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
We will be back with news from the international scene in just a moment.
Hey, Nden. Hey, you look tense. I mean, what's up?
I can't help it. The internet is way too slow.
Nden, why not join the future?
Why not try this?
Wow, that was really fast. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir.
For the first time in the Gambia, QCell subscribers can now enjoy 4G LTE on their 4G-enabled mobile phone.
At Kaiba Avenue,
Senegambia,
Brufut,
Banjo,
Bakau,
and Sukuta.
This means that you can now connect faster than ever before with 4G LTE speed. QCell has a wide selection of 4G LTE mobiles, dongles, and MiFi routers.
QCell's 4G LTE.
To subscribe, dial *335#.
For more information, call 111.
QCell, Sunyu SIM, Sunyu Boss.
Welcome back. South African Labour Federation, COSATU, has staged a nationwide protest against corruption. Some estimates suggest that corruption cost the country about $2 billion annually. Angelo Coppola reports.
State captain corruption affects all of us. It says corruption anywhere is corruption everywhere. It does not matter who's doing corruption. It will affect you one day. Worse off if it's in the state, because the state must be standing higher than anybody else.
The protest action is also targeted at the private sector enterprises. The South African Communist Party reminded its members that it was the workers who paved the way to democracy.
It's time they stand up again to say no to this. We must actually reclaim our country from unelected, corrupt, parasitic networks.
One of the stops on the protest action was the Chamber of Mines. While the issue between the Chamber and the Labour movement was around job losses in the sector, the parties agree on the big picture.
As the Chamber, we support the COSATU's stand on state capture and corruption, because we think, and we have a firm view for that matter, that its effect jeopardizes the future of South Africans and its people, and of mining in general.
While there are many calls for the country's president to resign, not everyone agrees.
I don't believe in silver bullets individually, because that presupposes that there's one solution for the entire problems of the country. It's too complex for that.
People around the country are sick and fed up with corruption and state capture, and these movements are likely to grow as we get closer to that elective conference in December. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Nigeria's state-owned petroleum company says it's commencing oil search in the northwestern Sokoto Basin. Currently, its reserves stand at 37 billion barrels, but the government set a target to raise that to 40 billion by striking new oil fields. CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam has more.
Sokoto Basin in Nigeria's northwestern region, that's the latest destination to scout for oil and gas. Africa's largest oil producer has been seeking to grow its known commercially viable oil reserve. The latest search in Sokoto Basin follows similar exploration in the Chad Basin. Boko Haram killed the exploration team there in a bloody ambush. Sokoto Basin is one of the 7 regions in Nigeria known to possess sediments associated with oil and gas reserves. There are other exploration going on in some of the areas. Nigeria hopes the fresh discovery of oil there in commercial quantity would attract much needed investment in the industry.
Within a 3, 4, 5 year period, if there's significant commercial quantities of oil that is sufficient to pay out whatever infrastructure that is required to evacuate and export the oil from that region, within a 3, 5 year period, it's done. Let's not forget that the Sokoto Basin is not one of the harshest terrains. In fact, it's probably a lot easier than the Niger Delta terrain, particularly the swampy area. You know, it's not as it's hot, it's dry, but it's access you can access is firm ground.
Sokoto Basin is far removed from Nigeria's existing oil infrastructure, and discovery of oil deposits there means fresh investments and significant volumes must be found there to attract investment in independent infrastructure. The government also hopes that the newly discovered oil reserves there will balance output fluctuations due to militancy in the oil-rich Niger Delta.
Delta militants didn't start when oil was found, it was a case of you find oil, the environment is degraded, there are no investments made in the Niger Delta, and people become militant. Now, I would expect that if oil is found in Sokoto, we would apply some sense and ensure that what happened in Niger Delta doesn't play out again. So obviously, you want to make sure that you do not degrade the environment, the Sokoto environment, particularly the basin. You also want to make sure that the people feel the benefit of having oil being explored in their backyards.
Oil exploration in Nigeria is a costly venture, and quite often the amounts involved have been raising eyebrows here. For instance, an estimated $3 billion is said to have been sunk over the years in the Benue Trough and the Chad Basin with no success. But the government is showing an unwavering commitment to strike new oil fields in 3 years. Kelechi Emekalang, CGT and Abuja, Nigeria.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. Police Chief Landing Kinte has urged newly promoted senior officers to work with diligence and professionalism. Residents of 6 rural villages in the North Bank and Lower River regions have expressed delight at the constant electricity supply provided by NAWEC and Senelec. The government of Uganda has suspended the country's boxing federation following the disappearance of 3 boxers in Germany. And members of South Africa's powerful labor union, COSATU, have staged a nationwide protest against corruption. Well, that was all in this edition of the News at 8. Join us at 10 o'clock again for more news. Until then, I am your presenter, Momodin Jai.